Well, hello. I hope you guys had a lovely homecoming. Welcome. It's going to be Monday, September 24th, and I want to say happy birthday, Bridger, to my son. I can't believe today's his birthday, and that is my little puppy who totally enjoyed the homecoming parade. That said, let's tackle what we need to do in class today. So I've got a screencast going. We are starting our first instructional focus in polynomials, which is our new unit, and we've already learned how to add and subtract polynomials. Today, we're going to be working with multiplication. So by the end of the class, we're going to be able to multiply a monomial times a binomial and a binomial times a binomial. So make sure you've got your calculator, make sure you've got your notes and a pen and pencil. Feel free to pause at any time, and let's go get it. Couple things I want to see if you remember. Do you remember your exponent rules? So do you remember that if I have x times x times x, what I'm really doing is the exponents there are 1, and that becomes x cubed. I'm adding 1 plus 1 plus 1. So in general, when we multiply powers of the same base, we end up adding the exponents. So for any x to the m power times x to the n power, we add n plus n. And then over here off to the right, I wrote down, do you remember when we multiply a negative times a negative, it's a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative. A positive times a negative is a negative. And when I multiply two positive numbers, of course, it gives me a positive. I just put this down to bring back some things we might have forgotten. Okay, let's get into it. For our first problem, we're going to multiply over addition or subtraction. So I would like you to write down this expression. Negative 4 times the binomial term 3x minus 15. What we need to remember to do is we have to distribute this negative 4 to everything inside the parentheses. So we're going to distribute it to the 3x first. And once we do that, we're going to distribute it to the negative 15. And that product written out looks like negative 4 times 3x times negative 4 minus 16. So you want to make sure that you distribute to all terms inside the parentheses. And once we've written out that step, I say perform our computation. So what's negative 4 times 3x? That's a negative 12x. And a negative 4 times negative 15 is a positive 60. And that's it. I hope this is coming back and you remember this from 2 years ago. All right, we're going to go ahead and move to our next slide. If you need to pause it to get caught up, please do. Okay, multiplication over addition and subtraction. This one is going to look a little busier. I've got two variables now, an a and a b, but we are going to do the very same thing. We want to make sure that we multiply this outer term, 3ab, to everything inside the parentheses. So this first piece I wrote is 3ab times 9a, and then I need to distribute the 3ab times the positive 2ab squared. So once I've distributed 3ab to all terms inside my parentheses, I'm going to perform my computation. 3 times 9 is 27. A times a is a squared, b. Then my next computation is 3 times a is 6, a times a is a squared, and b times b squared is b cubed. And we're done. So here, as long as you remember your rules when you multiply exponents, your exponent rules, that will be very helpful. All right, so we just multiplied a monomial to a binomial. Now we're going to go do the big whopper, which is a binomial times a binomial. So go ahead and write down, we're going to multiply binomial terms. Some of you might have heard this as foiling from previous teachers. Some of you might have heard this as double distribution. We're basically multiplying binomial terms. So here are our binomial terms. the parentheses here implies, the parentheses in here implies multiplication, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to do the FOIL because most of you are familiar with that. So I rewrote this and I put down an F for FOIL. So my first step is I am going to multiply my first term times my first term. That is where this is coming from. Okay? So once I've got that written down, I'm going to go through and do the O terms, the outer. So out here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this outer term, -4, times this outer term, which is -3x. And I write down that product right there. Okay, I'm not done. I have an I. The I stands for inner terms. So what I'm going to multiply there, I hope you can see what my inner terms are going to be. My inner terms are this 7x and the -10. And I just write down that product right there, 7x times -10. And then last but not least, we're going to do our last terms. Well, our last terms are going to be this 7x, the last term in my first binomial, times -3x, which is the last term in my second binomial. So that is me taking care of my business. I wrote down each product separately to make sure that I didn't make any mistakes or lose anything. So once we've done that, I'm going to come through and do the computation. So the -4 times -10 is 40. And then over here, I've got this product becomes 12x. This product becomes -70x. And then last but not least, I multiply the 7x and the -3x, and that gives me -21x squared. So now I'm going to come after you with this thing called combine like terms, and I hope you remember that 12x and -70x have the same last name, basically an x to the first power. 12 minus 70 is a -58. So I've combined those two terms. So now I have a trinomial. I have 3 terms now. And last but not least, what did I do? I put this in standard form. Standard form is the variable with the highest power goes first, and then we go descending. I want you to remember that this negative sign goes with the 21. So it's -21x squared, the -58x, and the +40. Okay? So if you need to pause or rewind and go back and get this, please go ahead. We've got no slides left. If you have any questions, you can certainly email me. You can certainly check my website. And I wish you good luck with your multiplication. Okay, have a good night.